to everyone at the AdNet Zero Global Summit. I'm Steph McGovern. Welcome to the studios of my daily Channel 4 lunchtime show called Steph's Packed Lunch. But instead of a packed lunch, I'm giving you guys a packed dinner with sustainability as the main dish. Now, my employer, Channel 4, has committed to being net zero by 2030. To do this, it's making some big changes across the business, including in the advertising space, working with companies like Tenzing. So, over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to chat to the founder of Tenzing, Huib van Bockel, about it all. Huib, lovely to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you, Huib?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good. I want to just start at the beginning of the Tenzing story. Just take me back to when you set it up, because you had been a marketing exec at Red Bull, hadn't you?
Yes, exactly. So my main, I started out, it was end of 2015, wanting to launch a natural, low-calorie and a sustainable product. So an alternative, in the energy drink space. And that's how it all started, actually. And then the cool thing is, obviously, when you do that, you have to kind of look at what are going to be your main ingredients. That's the challenge number one. And challenge number two is like, how do you, what's going to be the name? And so on that kind of quest and journey to find those right ingredients, I was really lucky. I was in Asia and I bumped into what the Sherpas drink on their most known, they live in the Himalayas at the most very high altitudes. And they drink a strong tea with salt called the Sherpa tea or butter tea. And they drink a lemon tea. And this was actually, so I had this doctor that helped me out with the recipe, and I asked him, is this a cultural thing, or does it actually, are there benefits to this? And he goes, no, there is a lot of benefits because it's a triple hit of natural caffeine, vitamin C, and electrolytes. And that then became the basis of our recipe. And then also immediately I thought, wow, how cool would it be to name it Tenzing, after the first man who was on Mount Everest together with Edmund Hillary. And then that's how I named it. And then I got in touch with the family to ask their blessing if they would be okay with me naming the drink Tenzing. And actually with that, I started a partnership with them, and we work closely together now with the family, and they're actually partners in the business. So that's how the whole kind of Tenzing came about.
And is it true that you did a PowerPoint presentation to your wife to convince her about this being a good business idea?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was before that, actually, because obviously kind of, we lived in London for about 10 years. And that was like our 5 year in. And, it's coming from a well-paid job to no job at all in an expensive place like London. Obviously, I had to convince my wife because we have twins. That was our first point of call. And she's also kind of in the marketing space. So I had to first of all, get all our finances in order and see what cuts we had to make. So I presented a whole kind of financial places like, we had to move house, stop our kind of Virgin active monthly subscription and all that kind of stuff, do a little less trips. And that was the first bit. So that obviously, didn't go down that well. And then the second bit was the presentation of the idea, which I did, was only roughly because it didn't have a name or anything by the time. But I remember when I finished, she said, this could work. That was, that was all I needed.
Yeah, and it certainly has worked as well. So can I talk to you then about sustainability and the role it plays within your business?
Yeah, so for me, one of the reasons to start an own business is very much also to do something that you properly believe in. Because I think that's the cool thing about starting your own business is you can you can shape it in the way exactly like you want it. And I've always been, I've loved the great outdoors. Surfing is one of my big hobbies. I love, skiing, hiking. So I love everything that's outdoors. I've always loved that a lot. And I wanted to make that big part of this journey, because I think, and this turned out to be very true as well, it gets really, really tough. Everyone tells you that, and it's so true. So when you start your own business, it's just really tough. And a lot of times you want to give up and you think it's all been for nothing. And then you need something to pull you through. And for me, that was really kind of, I wanted to make a difference here and do something that I properly believe in. And then obviously for us, also from a concept point of view, it was very easy because we take all our energy from nature. We source all our energy from nature. So we were from the get-go, we were, committed to give back as well. So it's all kind of, being connected in that way.
Yeah, and it comes in various ways, but I know one of the ways is through a percentage of the profits, isn't it, going to environmental projects?
Yes, yeah, that's how it started. So it started actually with Jumling, so the son of Sherpa Tenzing. He's the one I work most with from the family. And one of the actually got a lot of news at the time that Mount Everest was quite littered on the way to Mount Everest. So a lot more treks there now than there used to be. And so I said, I want to actually do like one of those cleaning missions where you go there, another excuse for me to go help clean up. And he said, look, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because it's a quick win, but then it gets polluted again. So what we did is we built bins. So it didn't sound as sexy, but it's the most effective way, of course. We build like these stone bins, and we also fund then the actual taking down of the litter from those bins. So that was our first project, but now we've really doubled down on all that. We offset all our footprint. We invest in, with Imperial College in clean air tracking in London. So we do a lot of projects at the moment.
Yeah, and I know it was that sustainability that led to your partnership with Channel 4, because Tenzing, of course, were the first company to use the Channel 4 Greenhouse Fund. And just to remind everyone, 4Sales launched the Greenhouse Fund last year, and this is a £3 million initiative to support small and medium-sized businesses that have never advertised on TV before through match-funded commercial airtime. So can you just explain then, Huib, how it came about for you as being the first company to do this with Channel 4?
Yeah, so it was a lot of these things actually happened in COVID, Corona, in the beginning phase. And to be honest, it was one of those phases, like I was just discussing, that it gets really tough when you start your own business. And that was probably one of the top two toughest periods for me, because at the beginning, like everyone thought at the time, and especially if you've got a young business like my own, I thought, oh my God, it's gonna die. Because we sell a lot of our products in gyms, in offices, in universities, in city centers, and that all just shut down, of course, right? So so we had to we had to let people go, and we're obviously a very small team, very close and passionate team, and the fact that so for me it was a really, really tough period. At the same time, if I look back, it was also a very kind of creative, strong period. And one of the two things we did actually, one was we really doubled down on our environmental projects at the time. I run a lot, and I used to run also mainly to keep mentally sane. And I ran next to the Thames, and there was this big sign that says, thank you to all our essential workers, like we all were celebrating at the time, and rightly so. And I just didn't feel essential at all. And actually usually running gets me back on track. And now because of that one sign, is like, why am I not essential? And then we sat down with the team and we said, we have to become essential. And one of the ways that we can do that is to take full responsibility for our own footprint. Yeah. And that's what we then did. Secondly, from a more business point of view, we thought, look, everyone was sitting in front of the TV, and all these big advertisers were pulling back their money. So you don't have to do a lot of calculations to think, okay, there should be some good deals to be had at the TV channel. So we literally went to the three big ones, and with Channel 4, we hit it off immediately. And that's what I've loved about our partnership. It's a genuine partnership. It's an entrepreneurial company. I really find they're willing to take risks, and we've done amazing things together. And for me, that also, as an entrepreneur, it creates a lot of loyalty. So I'm really keen to keep working with Channel 4 for as long as I can. It was really kind of came about from an opportunity that arose then, and that we both latched onto.
Yeah, it's fascinating, this idea of you being on a run and seeing that sign, and that's what prompted you in this. The second ad aired, didn't it, on Earth Day, and this featured this new carbon negative label. So can you just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, exactly. So we couldn't, although those two plans came together of wanting to become carbon negative, actually going on TV for the very first time, we couldn't, of course, turn it around that quick. So it took us about a year to become fully carbon negative. It's one of the most important bits about that is to do a whole analysis, of course, of your own footprint. So literally, from crop to can, to see like where does our ingredients come from, what's the footprint of every single ingredient, what the processing, the packaging, everything, and then And then we looked at that, so that took a long time. And then what we wanted to do is not just offset our footprint, but do two extra things. We wanted to, be carbon negative, so that means we offset more than we emit. So we take more greenhouse. Every time you buy a can at Tenzing, we take more greenhouse gases out of the air than we put in. But secondly, we want to do it locally, where we actually, put those greenhouse gases into the because we're not net zero yet, right? We're lowering our footprint with everything we do. But until that time, we want to make sure we offset more than we put in. And then we do that always with local projects. So for instance, we take our green tea from Kenya, and we have a local offsetting project there to offset our footprint.
Yeah, there are some people who often say, it's not commercially viable to be sustainable. Like it's not worth it financially. What would you say to people who have that view?
It's a very, look, I'm not going to say outright that's wrong, because it's interesting, right? It's that claimed, if you ask people, would you invest more in a brand, or would you rather have a brand that is environmentally conscious or is carbon neutral, carbon negative, would you buy that? Now, 70% then says yes, right? Like most of us would. But what's the actual behavior is that's very early days, to be honest. So for me, it's very much also, like I said, it's a reason we genuinely believe it. We genuinely want to do it. So it's actually, so for instance, what it 100% does do, gets you the best talent. So we get a lot of amazing talents in our team. And when we ever got a new job, there's always a lot of people that want to join us, because people, I think, now want to make a difference. So that's a clear one. It helps with partnerships, like the Channel 4 partnerships, for instance, we have. It helps with other partnerships, like with, whatever, with our, like Tesco and Waitrose. So I think that's where it really helps. On the end bit, like, will people buy you more? That's very hard to analyze, but I genuinely believe it will be more and more in the future. And it will be also standard to look at that in the future.
And you have seen commercial success, haven't you, off the back of this as well?
Definitely. And I think it's so now I would say it's mainly on those two. So it's really, well, I do, look, after our ad, this aired this, on Earth Day, so spring, let's say this year on Channel 4, we saw a huge increase. We have a ProQuo. We measure all our brand health with this online tracker, and we saw a huge increase in our brand health. So I do, you are right in that sense that people just, and things like forward thinking, innovative, aspirational, all those things really shot up. So I do think people really, like brands and, are committed to brands that do make a difference. Yeah,
so you did see then tangible benefits of advertising
Definitely.
On Channel 4?
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing. To be honest, this is, we're doing it because we couldn't do 2 bursts. We didn't have the budget for that. Hopefully we'll do that this year on TV. So we're doing a smaller digital campaign now. And literally, I'm not just saying this here, but the impact is huge. The difference is huge. Literally last year, the beginning of the year, time moves so quickly. It's only been a couple of months that we were on Channel 4. Our brand metrics just shot through the roof, and now the growth is really a lot smaller.
Yeah. So how important is the partnership with C4 then?
It's crucial for us. I think, for us, taking that leap, I think that was the cool thing in 2020, when all the most businesses were pulling back budget, we actually spent most that we'd ever spent. And to go counter trend, then taking that risks. And I think that's the cool thing of being a small company, being able to take that risk, having a partner like Channel 4 that was willing to go with us on that journey. And I think since then, so for instance, this year we'll roughly double our business. And that really also as a key, Channel 4 has been a key bit of part of that.
I'm really keen to hear as well about some of your other projects. I know that tree planting is one of them. Can you tell us a bit about what's happening in that area?
Yeah, so the cool thing is obviously with Channel 4, so last time when we did it we had a project, we said, okay, we'll do 2 things. We'll offset the whole carbon footprint of the sales team of Channel 4. And on top of that, we'll plant 4 trees for every employee from Channel 4. And I think there are 1,000. So we planted 4,000 trees. This is just today, because we'd already planted 2,000 in Scotland. And we're looking for 2,000 plants a bit closer to home. And it was just confirmed literally this morning that we're going to be planting them in the Cotswolds. They called it in a shelter belt. So it's like it's not only the carbon offsetting qualities of the trees, but also there's a lot of extra benefits of these shelter belts of being, for other fauna to grow in and live in, and also kind of to shelter off pieces of farmland. So yeah, that's what we'll be planting in December now. So yeah, that's been a cool part of the project as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the For Sales team will be made carbon neutral for 12 months by offsetting the average yearly carbon footprint of a UK adult. So, it's really interesting, these projects that are happening. So I guess I want to ask you as well a bit, Huib, about what your advice would be then to others who want to support that shift towards, greater sustainability in the future. What would you say to them? Where do you start?
And other brands, businesses, or people?
Yeah, well, brands. Well, both, actually. Let's start with brands and then I'll ask about people.
So what I would advise always, I think it's so important because I believe people feel it if it's genuine. So I think it's about doing something that you're passionate about. And also I think very crucial to link with your brand. I see quite a lot of, and for us, this is like, we do that in two ways. Like I said, we source our energy from nature, so it's only logical to give back. So I think it really fits nicely and logically for people to understand. And other projects we do, like the clean air running, like running is a key community for us that, we've always been involved in the running community because they drink, they want to drink, and they need energy, but they want to drink healthy, low calorie energy, natural energy. And then for us to do something like the Clean Air Tracker, that allows people to find the cleanest routes in London, makes a lot of sense, right? So it kind of naturally flows out of our own mission. So I think that's the first thing I would, two things I like, really make it something that you're passionate about, and then some links to your brand really well.
Yeah, and if you were giving advice to people then, what would that be?
Yeah, I think, so one thing we do as well in the team, so we have commitments. We don't call them targets. We've got commitments in our team. We've got a non-hierarchy structure where everyone decides their own commitments. And our commitments we have around body, mind, and planet, next to your commitments of the Tenzing, what you say you want to do. Like, if you're in PR, like amount of reach you want to get, but the commitments are also on planet. Which is really cool. So we had a first person starting in Holland the other day, and he stopped eating meat, for instance, because he saw that actually makes an impact. And then so it really shows that in our team, we can inspire each other. So I think there is easy ways to lower your impact and to inspire others to do the same. Because I think, it's all about the classic stuff, right? Just eat less meat. So there's one thing I would advise there. It's like, two things, I think. First of all, eat less meat. I think it's the easiest and quickest win. And secondly, be more conscious of the brands that you choose.
Yeah.
So we'll be launching a real cool project around that in November about choose the brands that know their footprint. Because at the end of all your carbon footprint, you could argue, is through things you buy, right? Whether it's a plane ticket or some clothing, or so the less you buy, the less carbon footprint. And then also, if you look at which brands actively have a carbon footprint strategy, those are the brands you should be buying from.
Yeah.
And I think, because then what happens is if companies start seeing that people are actually doing that, showing that behavior, like I said before, instead of saying they behave the way, if they actually start behaving that way, then every company will do that super quick, right? At the end of the day, people have the power, right? I think, so if we all start making those changes, every single change, and every single person who commits to only buying brands that know their footprint and show their footprint and lower their footprint, then everyone will of course have to change.
Yeah.
So that's something I hope for.
And coming back to what the brands can do you think working with broadcasters like Channel 4 is a good way to do it as well?
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it has to be, for a business to succeed, like with us, there's an element of hope that it works, but that hope will obviously becomes more real if you work with a partner like Channel 4, that you can tell your message, right? Because if you're obviously just doing this and you're not, so I'm also a big believer. Some people are like, oh yeah, you're doing all this environmental, but it should be genuine and you shouldn't be telling anyone, because then it somehow seems like I want to sell more cans because I'm doing that. And that is also genuinely the case. But I would say, isn't it great that my marketing program is about clean air running in the big smoke, or that is about, offsetting my local footprint instead of sponsoring a Formula One team, right? So I think that is what, of course, I hope that people will like the Tenzing brand as a consequence, but it is also something that we're truly passionate about. So I think telling your story in a genuine and authentic way is crucial in getting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, sustainability's been talked about for quite a while now, and obviously around all the kind of CSR for businesses, it feels like there has been a move towards it. But do you think genuinely now brands are moving towards being more sustainable? Is that something we're seeing happen much more regularly?
I actually genuinely think so. And I think actually COVID really enhanced that process. I think for some, it kind of made us realize, although, the climate, some people say it's even connected, but I mean, if you just say, look, I think it made us all realize there is global trouble, it's very possible, let's say, So I think people always thought, oh, there's global warming, or, it will be something of the future. But I think somehow we all felt like, oh my God, things can happen to this earth and to us that actually have a huge impact. So I think that's one of the reasons why it went quicker now, and it is going faster. And I think it will. So for instance, we carbon label. So we like I said, we've looked at everything, like our carbon footprint, and we put that on our can. And I believe carbon labeling will be the future as well. So I think, people will demand from brands and businesses, like, what is the footprint of this certain product or of this certain service, and then expect you to have take your responsibility for that footprint. But I think it is about knowing and showing your footprint, and I think it will move in that direction.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because obviously what you're doing is you're promoting consumption. So how do you get that balance between promoting consumption and then trying to be sustainable? Like, don't the two contradict each other in some way?
Yes. At the end of the day, look, we live in an economy where people buy things, right? So, and I also believe it's also like, if I'd be promoting this in a segment where my product was worse, I mean, I think there's not going to be people, let's say, if I look at myself in the soft or energy drink category, we're the only soft drink in the world that we know that is carbon labeled, that is carbon negative, that even knows the footprint. We're the first to be climate pledge friendly on Amazon, for instance. First soft drink that I know of that is a B Corp. So I think within our segment, if people shift from one brand to ours, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And so to wrap things up for us then, can you just give us a flavour then of what the future holds for Tenzing?
So we've got a real cool project coming up in November where it's about November. So with a K, to kind of, and we're working with a lot of other brands on that. Something we've also discussed at Channel 4, and we want to bring this back next year again to say, okay, only buy from brands that know their footprint. So that's a cool project that's coming up really closely. I think the other one that I'm really passionate about is trying to find local offsetting projects actually in the UK where we sell our product. So we source most of our ingredients from the UK to limit the footprint. But there is not a lot of gold standard offsetting projects right here in the UK, strangely enough. So we're in the process of creating our own. And that's also something I'm super passionate about, where we can offset our footprint in this country, but also others could even come into us and offset their footprint here through those projects.
Yeah, sounds like there's loads of cool stuff going on. Thank you very much, Huib. Lovely to speak to you. I think it's fair to say, isn't it, the partnership between 4Sales and Tenzing is an inspiring blueprint for future brands to make a difference in the fight against climate change. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you've all been able to take something away from it. That's it from us. Enjoy the rest of the summit.